All right, let's get into it. There's one thing every single piece of software is guaranteed to do: break. That's right, failure isn't just possible, it's inevitable. But what happens next? Whether your app just dies a horrible death or actually recovers gracefully, that's all on you. So let's dig into the two really different ways software can fail, because honestly, mastering this is what separates the pros from the rest. Man, I love this quote. It just perfectly sums up the brutal reality of making software, doesn't it? It's not enough for your code to work when everything's perfect. No way. A truly solid application has to be ready for absolute chaos, for users typing in gibberish, for the network to just drop, for basically anything the messy, real world decides to throw at it. So to handle all that chaos, we first got to understand it. And here's the key thing. Not all errors are created equal. They actually fall into two totally different buckets. And once you see the difference, it's going to change how you write code forever. And this right here, this is the big distinction. This is the mental model you need to have. On one side, we've got internal errors. These are your bugs. Simple as that. A flaw in your code, your logic. Then on the other side, you've got external errors. These are caused by that messy, unpredictable world out there. Think bad user input, a server that's down. Your code could be flawless, but the universe just isn't. Okay, so for your bugs, the internal errors, the philosophy is really simple. Fail fast. When your code hits a weird state it wasn't designed for because of a bug, you don't want it to just limp along and pretend everything's okay. You actually want it to crash. And I mean crash loudly and right away. Sounds crazy, right? But a visible crash is the quickest way for you, the developer, to find out there's a problem and go fix it. But what about those other errors, the external ones, the ones that aren't your fault? Well, crashing is the absolute last thing you want to do. For these, we need a totally different game plan. It's all about being resilient and communicative. Here, the goal is totally different. It's all about responding helpfully. If a user types letters where a number should be, don't just blow up the app with some cryptic error. No, tell them what they did wrong and give them another shot. That is the mark of a professional, user-friendly app. You expect the unexpected and you handle it with grace. And our number one tool for this is the try-catch block. It breaks down into 3 simple steps. First, you wrap the risky code, the stuff that might fail, inside the try block. That's you telling the program, hey, heads up, this next part might get weird. Second, in the catch block, you plan for a very specific problem. You don't just catch everything. You catch the exact external error you're expecting, like an input mismatch exception. And third, and this is the most important part, you respond with a helpful action instead of letting the program die. And wow, this just nails the difference, doesn't it? On the left, no try-catch. The user types ABC, and bam, the program is dead. Game over. But on the right, we catch that specific exception and we just print a friendly message, looping back so the user can try again. See what we did? We turned a total disaster into a tiny little bump in the road. Okay, so we handle external errors gracefully. Got it. Now, let's swing back to the other side, internal errors, your bugs. This is where that fail fast idea comes roaring back. And it might feel wrong, but trust me, your goal here is to let your program crash. Now listen up, because this slide shows the single biggest mistake I see new developers make. They see a crash like a null point exception, and their first instinct is to wrap it in a try-catch to make the crashing stop. This is a terrible idea. It doesn't fix the bug, it just hides it. It is literally like putting a piece of black tape over the check engine light in your car. Sure, the annoying light is gone, but the engine is still about to explode. So, what's the right way? The crucial point is this. You don't catch a null pointer exception. You find the line of code that's causing it, and you fix the bug. So instead of passing a null value where it doesn't belong, you pass a real value like hello. We're fixing the root cause, not just slapping a Band-Aid on the symptom. Okay, so how do we do this fail-fast thing like a pro? One of the best ways is with something called a guard condition. Think of it like a bouncer at the front door of your function. Before any code can run, this bouncer checks the data coming in. Is it valid? If not, it gets thrown out immediately. The function throws an exception and just stops. This is awesome because it stops bad data from ever getting in and messing things up, which makes finding bugs way, way easier. So we've got these 2 different philosophies for 2 different kinds of errors, right? But what's the one tool that helps us with both of them? That, my friends, would be logging. You should think of it as the flight data recorder, the black box for your application. When you're just starting out, it's super tempting to just litter your code with systemout.println. We've all done it, but a real logging framework, it's on a whole other level. As you can see here, proper logs give you severity levels, timestamps, info about where the log came from, and you can turn them on or off or send them to a file without ever touching your code. It's a game changer.
And these logging levels are what make it so powerful. You can mark a routine message as info, something a little suspicious as a warning, and a total meltdown as severe. This lets you filter through mountains of data to find what actually matters. And this ties right back to our two types of failure. A user entering bad data, that's an external error, maybe you log it as a warning. A null pointer exception, that's your bug. An internal error, and that should be severe. The system helps you focus on what's important.
At the end of the day, logging is your detective's notebook. It's your single source of truth. When a user says something went wrong, the logs tell you exactly what happened. When your app crashes from a bug, the logs give you the breadcrumb trail that leads you right to the scene of the crime. It is, without a doubt, the most important tool for understanding what your app is actually doing out there in the real world.
So, if you only remember one thing from all of this, let it be this simple, powerful idea right here. Handle external errors. Fix internal errors. You handle the world's messes gracefully to give your users a good experience, and you let your own mistakes crash and burn so you can find them and fix them. That's it. That's the mantra.
And I want to leave you with a final thought to chew on. That line between an internal error and an external one, sometimes it gets a little blurry. When your app fails because of something you just didn't see coming, is that a bug, or was it just a failure of imagination on your part? Thinking about that question will make you a much better developer. Thanks for joining me.